Hi everyone, welcome to our latest interview. We're very pleased and privileged to have with us Dr. Deborah Braham, who you may have seen a BBC article about. She's very much one of our own here in Stanmore. Over to you. I mean, tell us, you've clearly been very, very busy recently. What's your position? What do you do? And we'll get on to the BBC article soon.
So I'm a consultant anaesthetist and intensive care consultant at the Hammersmith Hospital, which is part of Imperial College Healthcare. So that's joined with St Mary's and Charing Cross. And I've been working looking after COVID patients on the ICU during this outbreak. But one of the things I also noticed when we were quite early on in the outbreak is that we didn't have the supplies of PPE, which you would want. Things sort of came, but then sometimes there were very few, and got a bit worried. And somebody shared with me a recipe for making your own visors. So visors are what you cover your face with to protect you from aerosols being generated from patients who are critically ill. And so they shared this recipe with me, and I thought, oh, that's great. Actually, kids can do this. And I thought, why don't I put it out there to friends and colleagues and see if anybody is actually interested in making these things, because it's an activity that people can do at home with their kids. And, while everyone's stuck there, it's something positive to do. And so I put it out through various groups, and soon some friends started making them. At first, they were buying their own materials from Hobbycraft and making them, and I would go and pick them up from outside their house, or they'd drop them around, and it just sort of spread from there.
Wow, unbelievable. So I mean, where did before we talk about where the idea went to, but where did the idea come from?
The idea of making them at home.
Yeah, I mean, what made you think to kind of publicize it kind of, did you think it would gain major traction?
So quite early on, people who knew what I did for a living, not everybody does, because we end up in sort of two separate worlds with the family and the kids, and the work world don't always meet. But people who knew what I did or found out what I did started asking, do you need any help? Can I do your shopping? Can I, it's a very sort of supportive community. And actually, I didn't need any help because we were fine. And, once the NHS shopping started, it was probably in many ways easier for me when I wasn't working than for other people. So I didn't need any help. But I thought that this would be something for people who actually want to do something and want to contribute, that it's something they could do quite easily. I mean, we were asking them quite early on if they wanted to do it, they would buy the materials for it, which probably cost about, £10 or something to make, probably about 20 visors. And soon enough, people were actually quite keen to do that. And I was quite surprised actually how it took off.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was really incredible actually. And some people who said, oh well, I'm not very good at crafts, but I can give you some snacks to take for your colleagues and the nurses and things, and that was appreciated as well. It was just the general feeling was, let's help, let's support the NHS. And I would never have predicted that we would get this response. It was really incredible. It really was.
I remember in the early days when it was put on the Young Stanmore WhatsApp group, a request for visors, and just amazing. I mean, do you know how many people stepped up? Do you have figures?
Early on, I mean, it started. I was reaching out to sort of all the WhatsApp groups. I was on the school one, I went the shul one, various things, and it started sort of small numbers. I remember who the first one was, and then there were a few others, and I ended up with a WhatsApp group just for the visors, and I called it the Visor Army. And there were about, I don't know, it started off when it got large about 30, and then it sort of went to about 40 as people started inviting their friends. But now we've got thousands of people making visors
I
across
assume that's
London.
Not the WhatsApp group, right? You can't. That would be mad.
Soon it outgrew the WhatsApp groups. There are still a number of WhatsApp groups. My original WhatsApp group's still there. It's probably got about 100 people on it. But there are other groups. We have a huge organization now. So within certain areas, there will be a coordinator. They'll have their own group of volunteers.
Wow.
And then there's a coordinators group. And it transferred to Facebook. I mean, obviously we got a lot of help to really, escalate it, because it started off just me organizing it, which was quite a lot of work, because somebody has to make sure everyone's making them right, and, you answer questions and things like that. So one of my friends, Taryn Simons, she started a Facebook group. And also, I know you've interviewed the people from You Donate, We Deliver. So someone from that group called Sarah Laster, she got involved quite early on. She thought it was a fantastic idea. Her sister is an A&E registrar at the Royal Free, and she knows that they don't have enough equipment. So she got on board, and because she had this history of working with that group, managed to get some donated materials from Hobbycraft.
Oh, wow.
So there was a while when we had a sort of a headquarters out of her front garden, and people would go there to pick up materials. So then it sort of transferred from everyone buying their own materials to donated materials or purchased materials, which is what we did later on. And they would, get a pack of materials, make the visors, drop it back to her, and then more and more people got involved. We've ended up with quite a big organization now, where we've got a headquarters, where the visors are stored, where the materials get distributed from. All the various coordinators from the different areas will come to the headquarters, collect their materials, distribute the materials to the volunteers. All the materials are now purchased. So we've done that with funding from a GoFundMe page. And the way we managed to sort of do that page is we got backing from quite a large medical charity called the Rose Trees Trust.
Mm-hmm.
And they're actually an incredible charity. And, despite the fact that times are very difficult at the moment, they're actually funding a huge amount of COVID research.
Oh, wow.
And some of it is really optimistic, and we really hope that it might help.
Mm-hmm.
They're funding a lot of projects with testing, for example, which might really help. So they've backed us, and they're really quite incredible people. There's a lady called Anne Berger, and she's the CEO. So as well as having these high level research meetings, she's on the phone to me saying, how can we help? What can we do to make this easier? So we've had a huge amount of support from the community and beyond. And it's really made a difference on the front line. I mean, we've been taking these visors started off obviously just my hospital, but then it soon spread to hospitals all over London. And we've also delivered to care homes, and the staff are just so grateful. I mean, some of the staff haven't had anything, and it's they're crying out for help, and we've been able to help them, and it really feels like an amazing achievement when we've done that.
So then how did you, this BBC article on the BBC News website, how did that come about? Did you know it was happening? Did they interview you? Did they speak to you? How did that work? Was that totally out of the blue?
Well, so it obviously, as it got bigger and bigger, we ended up with quite a lot of celebrities on board, because, some of them just happened to live in some of the areas and they sort of heard about it. So we've had celebrities making visors for us. We've had Jonathan Ross making visors, Gabby Roslin, Claude Littner's grandchildren were making visors. So it sort of spread. And then there's been various people in the fashion industry that have really helped us out. And someone with contacts in the fashion industry managed to get Philip Treacy interested, who's a famous milliner.
Mm-hmm.
And he got all the sort of other quite prominent milliners in London making it. So it's always been suggested that there might be a bit of media interest in this story. And we ended up going with a journalist who's actually the husband of one of our volunteers, who's also a school mum, and her son is my son's best friend. So her husband is actually Middle East editor, I think, for the BBC. And he said, no, I'll write an article for the website. And when he said the website, I thought, phew, I don't have to be on TV or anything. It's going to be sort of the back of the BBC. You'll only know it's there if you get the link. And then so he wrote the article, and then he texted me when I went live, and he said, it's going to be promoted. They love it. It's such a good story. And then it was on the homepage of the BBC website. It was getting messaged out with, Apple messaging news thing.
Wow.
And it just went crazy. Yeah. And apparently over 1 million people have read it now.
Wow.
which is really incredible. It's
It's so
really
incredible.
incredible.
For those who haven't read it, I would share it on my screen, but the last time I did that on Zoom, it crashed. So I'm not going to do that. But you'll see a nice picture with like with your medical overalls, so to speak, and the visor looking down.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic article. Actually, I've read it
Yeah.
myself. It's brilliant.
It's, I think it's very appealing because it's very uplifting in a very difficult time, and to see what the community can do. I mean, we started off, a few volunteers on my WhatsApp group, and now we've got thousands of volunteers, and together we've made about 75,000 visors already, and we've been able to distribute more than 50,000 of those so far. And I think it's really made a difference, and people get a real sense of satisfaction out of what they've been able to do. I mean, people were just crazy to do it. They were like, we need more materials, we want to make more. I mean, people were working non-stop trying to make as many visors as possible and get it back to us and get more material. We just couldn't keep up. It's really truly amazing.
Right. I mean, it's an incredible story. I think when people look back at some point of this period, I think it's one of the symbols that are going to stick. The
Yes.
visors, I think, is one of those things
Yeah,
going to symbolize the
definitely.
entire time. I think. Go on, sorry.
So one of the wonderful things that's happened when the hospitals get the visors as well is they often come with messages
Ah,
and pictures, and really, really caring. It's so touching. It's very emotional, actually, to feel that you've got this support from people, adults and kids and professionals, and just people wanting to help. And yeah, they will, when we look back on it, we've got to see some of the positives that's come out of this. I mean, it's a really terrible time, but the way the community has responded is really, it's such a wonderful thing. It's really, really
it
wonderful.
is. Yeah,
Remember it for a long time.
it's incredible. Now, it would be remiss of us not to mention if you want to make a visor. So, how do you get involved? What do you look up? What do you Google? What do you Facebook? What do you do?
Yeah, so we've got a few social media outlets. So we've got Facebook, and the page is called Visor Army, Make a Visor, Save a Hero. And so you can join our Facebook page. It's got quite a lot of information on there. At the moment, we've been a bit overwhelmed with volunteers. So we're not taking on any more volunteers to make visors at the moment, but we will be posting updates. So it may be, because the number of COVID cases is reducing, it may be in the future we'll see how the response goes, and we may upscale it again. So please join the Facebook page and keep in touch and keep involved. We've also got an Instagram account which is called Visor Army Save a Hero. So please join, and you'll see some lovely pictures of what we've been doing. And we've got a GoFundMe page which will come up. There's a link to it on the Facebook page, but it will come up if you look at Visor Army. And as I said, that's linked to the Rose Trees Trust.
Amazing.
So if we have any funds left over from visors at any stage, we'll channel that into other good causes within the NHS.
Great. Deborah, thank you so much for your time. I'd love to
Pleasure.
ask you loads of other things, but I think it's late, and I think it would be hypocritical of me to ask about the balance of family life and public life and saving people's lives and then worrying about your own family if I kept you much past the time. It is already late at night, so I have to do that maybe another time. But really, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Keep doing amazing work, and look, everyone, you've seen the what Deborah is doing. You've seen the ways to get involved. So I guess please get involved. It's a fantastic thing, fantastic cause, and everyone should only be well and good things.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with that more.